What is up, Nuggets? It's your boy, Killer Pizza here with a brand new video for all you rascals and rapscallions out there. Now, first and foremost, I want to say I hope everybody's doing okay out there. Social distancing, which isn't very hard for somebody like me. I don't really care for people. I like the right people, but I don't really like people. So I was trying to think of a movie to review this weekend, and just like the last review I did, Shaun of the Dead, I thought of one that's very relatable to this time, and that being 1985's Day of the Dead, written and directed by the late great George A. Romero. Now, if anybody's not too familiar with these films, these are actually what got me into horror. George Romero's zombie flicks. It goes Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. Now, Night of the Living Dead is kind of like when the zombies first start coming out of the graves and everything, and it's pure chaos. Nobody knows what's going on. And Dawn of the Dead is more of like how society's trying to deal with this outbreak as it starts. Where Day of the Dead is like last people on Earth quarantining together in an underground bunker. So in this very bad time, this movie seemed very relatable and made me want to watch it more so than I normally do because it's one of my very favorites. But it didn't disappoint. So, like I said, 1985, the third of George Romero's installments in the zombie flicks. This movie starts out with a helicopter scene where we have the pilot John, I believe, and the radio guy Bill, and they have one of the women scientists Sarah, who's the main character in this whole movie, and another soldier Miguel, who's kind of like a suicidal soldier. And they're based in Fort Myer, Florida, under this underground bunker. But they're in this helicopter and they fly like 100 miles out to try to find like other survivors. So this is like right off the bat, this movie's amazing because you got Miguel in the speaker. And he's got like this megaphone, like a Jimmy Hart kind of like whatever you call it. He's yelling, hello, is there anybody alive? And for one, the soundtrack by John Harrison is unbelievable in this movie. The soundtrack in the opening credits is great. And it's doing all these great cuts through an empty city in Florida. And I like this so much more than just like basic opening titles. I don't know. I feel like this is going to be a long review if I'm already like getting on how much I love the opening credits. But like if you watch it, you know the difference. There's a lot of good shots. The scenery's right, the angles are right, and the timing's right. And it has one of the best title cards ever where like the zombie comes out and he has his whole jaw like ripped out and taken away, but his tongue is still hanging through. Then Day of the Dead hits right across. So they don't find nobody. They get back to the helicopter. All these zombies are taken over. They go back to this, it's kind of like a gated in like military base with the bunker, underground bunker. So you have like these soldiers outside living kind of casually. They're growing some pot and they're drinking some beers and looking at dirty magazines and whatnot. So then they all go back down into the underground bunker. And in this time is where you find out the guy who was in charge first. I think it was Major Cooper, I believe. Major Cooper has died, and they put a new grave out for him. So this leaves 12 people left, and that's going to be the great Captain Rhodes, who ends up putting himself in charge after Major Cooper has died. The rest of his soldiers, you have Sarah and two other scientists, and then John that flies the helicopter, and Bill who does the radio. So it's pretty tense, like right away when they get down, and right off the bat they have to go pick up a couple dead bodies, some of the zombies, for the scientist, Dr. Logan. He's the main one doing the experiment. I should explain first. I knew I was going to ramble on so much in this movie, but like the plot is, a lot of this is like there's scientists that are hidden below this bunker. It's Sarah, this older guy, Dr. Logan, and this other scientist, I can't remember his name, but the soldiers in the military are assigned to protect these scientists while they try to find an answer to this epidemic. So, anyways, we go back down to the underground bunker, and these soldiers have to grab some zombies they have in like this little canal in this like cave that they rounded up, and it's all blocked off like Kind of, have you ever seen like horse or horseback riding, like bull riding? How they have them locked in those little wooden deals and they lift it up and let them out. That's kind of how they have the zombies all wrangled up and everything. So, pretty much a little backstory. The Miguel guy is kind of with the Sarah scientist, and he's like a suicidal soldier. He's about to collapse under the weight of his own stress. And they go to release these zombies, and they have him like in these leashes, like you would like catch an alligator or some shit like that. And he drops it, almost kills one of the other soldiers. So one of the other soldiers almost kills him, and Sarah's got to argue, get him out of this or whatever. And it's a whole debacle. Like it really relates in a sad way, like how times are right now that like people can't get along, society can't really work together, where these soldiers and these scientists are at each other's throats the whole time. And I'm sorry if I'm bouncing around so much. This is just one of my very favorite horror movies. So like, I keep thinking of shit and I keep going, I keep ranting and rambling. But they end up going back to this like meeting where Rhodes says, 7 o'clock sharp, we all need to talk. And pretty much like the main storyline out of this is like the scientists are trying to find results on how to fix this. Sarah's a scientist. She's trying to figure out what caused all this, so maybe we can reverse the process. While Dr. Logan, who does an incredible job in this movie, this old scientist, like every last detail about this guy is amazing. He has blood all over his smocks. His hair's all fucked up. 5 o'clock shadow. Even like this little piece of tape on the side of his glasses showing they've been broken like through time. Like I like that little detail. But this guy is more trying to like domesticate the zombies to make them all like civilized in a way. And pretty much the conflict between the soldiers and the scientists, or like the scientists try to explain these ideas, which are pretty far out there to begin with, but the soldiers kind of play it like dumb, like, we don't get this stuff, egghead, what's this mumbo jumbo and all that, and because they're there to protect them. And pretty much Rhodes starts losing his fucking mind. Captain Rhodes, played by Joe Plate. I can never say his name right. It's on my shirt. I went to read it. I always butcher his name. Late great Captain Rhodes. But he says now that Major Cooper is dead, he's in charge. Nobody's getting anything past him. And there's this really tense scene when they have this lunch meeting or whatever, where Sarah goes to walk away. He says, "If you leave, I'll shoot you dead right here." She doesn't take it serious, so he tells one of his soldiers, Steele's like his muscle, like the main tough guy soldier. He tells him, "You kill her." He makes a joke out of it. Bang, she's dead. He says, no. He holds his gun up to Steele. He says, "I'll kill you if you don't kill her." He goes to kill her. She ends up sitting down. And then that's where Dr. Logan comes in. They all call him Frankenstein because he's all covered in blood and just dealing with these monsters, trying to like civilize them and whatnot. And like I said, he explains it to Rhodes, and Rhodes ain't taking it. There's a very tense moment that happens there. They get into it a little bit, and then we're gonna move forward from that. But then we have more like character development scenes where like Sarah goes to meet up with the soldier Miguel. Like I said, who was like a suicidal soldier, and she gave him a shot of like some medicine to put him to sleep like ahead of time because he was like so crazy like that, and she thinks he's like a risk to others or whatnot. So they kind of get into it. He calls her a bitch or something. Correct me if I'm wrong. Something along those lines. Same difference. So when she leaves, she's all upset, and she meets up with Bill, who's the radio guy there in passing, and he brings her back to Bill and John's, the helicopter flyer radio guys, kind of like civilization they built. It's like this little trailer in the back of this underground bunker, because it's apparently like, I don't remember what he said, 10, 20 miles of underground stuff. I wish I knew, because there's a really good quote about that. A 20-mile tombstone or something like that. But anyways, she gets brought back to their place, and Bill's a bit of a drinker, so he gives her some drinks. She gets loosened up, and that's when John kind of like gives her his ideology of like, there ain't no science to fix something like this. This is what God created. God's kind of punishing us and everything. So adds a little twist right there. And then We have a couple scenes where uh, Dr. Logan is working with this zombie right here, Bubs, which, by the way, Scream Factory, Shout Factory, amazing cover art for Day of the Dead. Great release. But this is like his star pupil, Bubs, the one he's kind of like how you would teach a dog to roll over or whatever. He's trying to teach him not to want to eat humans and everything like that. Which to go back on Captain Rhodes' end, it's like, what are you going to do? Train the whole world of zombies not to attack us? Like, let's just kill them. But anyways, they have this one in particular scene where like Logan brings them in there, Sarah and the other scientist, and he's showing them all these like techniques to like make the zombie more human. And right when they're kind of like having a lighthearted moment, laughing about and smiling, Rhodes and Steele walk in, and Rhodes ain't impressed by any bit of this that Logan's doing. And this is where I've had like conflict before. Where like, if you guys know him, John Campbell and Benjamin Brody, I'm gonna name drop him right here. John Campbell thinks Rhodes is a complete nutcase, which he's not wrong. But I've talked to Benjamin Brody before, and he agrees that Rhodes might have been crazy, but he's legit. He's just trying to survive. Because he has a famous quote here where he's saying, like, they're dead. What the fuck is wrong with you guys? He doesn't understand why the scientists are trying to, like, humanize these zombies when they're just dead corpses and a risk to all the soldiers. So, unpopular opinion, I kind of relate to Rhodes a lot, and I kind of see where he's coming from. I like the guy, though he's pretty insane. So, yeah, we'll move forward with this movie. It gets to a point where they see another experiment with Bubs, and I'm probably passing over a bunch of stuff, but I'm rambling all over the place. They do another experiment with Bubs. Dr. Logan does, and this time when Rhodes walks in, because backtracking, Logan was given like pieces of meat to the zombie as like a reward for learning, and then it turns out when they open this freezer in the science lab that it's all the dead soldiers that have died because of these zombies or whatnot that the doctor is feeding to Bubs, the zombie. And this is when Rhodes freaks out, and this is where I relate to him more. It's like you're feeding zombies, he's feeding my men to these zombies, so he just shoots the doctor dead right there, Dr. Logan. I don't remember the exact quote. I think it was like Dr. Logan's like, please let me explain. And it's like some classic action shit right here. Not that this is an action movie, but Captain Rhodes is just like, explain this, and just unloads on him and kills him. Then this is really where he goes off the hinges. Captain Rhodes, he says, everybody drop their guns. We're killing all these zombies in that little holding cell, like the little cave part that they were experimenting on. We're killing all of them. We're getting out of here. So, and then, yeah, I feel like I'm backtracking, forgetting the order of how this happened exactly. But yeah, beforehand they went to wrangle up a little more zombies, and Miguel, who was like, suicidal, like really weak during this whole time, he went to go grab the zombie like he did in the beginning, like they grab him with the leashes and all that, but he let the strap broke and the zombie broke free. The zombie bites out the throat of this one soldier, and as he gets shot, his gun goes off, he kills another soldier, and this is really good gore. This is like George Romero Zombie Flicks 101, great Tom Savini effects. Only Tom Savini can do stuff like this. And then Miguel tries to fight the zombie off, and the zombie bites him on the arm, and he takes off running, and that's when Sarah catches up with him by John and Bill's place, takes a machete, just chops his arm completely off. It's so gory, it's so gnarly. And then she takes her shirt off, wraps it around some spare wood, they put some gasoline on it, torch it up, and put the fire to the open wound to stop the bleeding and disinfect and everything. And yeah, I was bouncing around because after this is where Rhodes and the soldiers come after all of them. And they say, drop all your guns. They have one of the other scientists held captive, and he tells the helicopter pilot, John, like, you're going to fly us out of here. He says, the helicopter only fits 8. He goes, well, there's that many of my soldiers and you. We're the only ones leaving. He refuses to fly the helicopter without his buddy Bill and Sarah. So then Captain Rhodes just shoots the other scientist right in the head, and he's like, "Am I serious now?" And John, the helicopter pilot, pretty much tells him, "You're gonna have to kill me before I fly this helicopter." So he sends Steele to beat him up. Which, if I haven't mentioned, Steele's like one of his soldiers, but he's like a big guy. Kind of looks like John Goodman a little bit, like he's his muscle, So like beat a little sense into him, and he beats him up a little bit. And this is at the time where Captain Rhodes puts Sarah and Bill into that little part in the cave with all the zombies, and he just says like, "Fuck them. If they die, they die. We don't got enough room for them on the helicopter, anyways." So John fights back. He ends up bipping Captain Rhodes, taking all his guns, and he goes into the cave to try to save his friends. And this is when Captain Rhodes kind of comes to. And right before this, when he sent Steele and Private Rickles, I think it was, where they heard like the elevator to the underground bunker rising. So he sends them to go look for it and see what's going on. And it turns out that's Miguel, the suicidal soldier. He went all the way up there, and then he goes out on the compound, unlocks the gate, lets all the zombies through. He walks out back onto the elevator. He takes his crosses and everything he wears on the chain, holds his ass. He's ready to go see God, I guess, and he just lets these zombies tear him apart. More great effects from Tom Savini. They're just ripping him apart as this elevator comes down, and all the soldiers there, including Captain Rhodes, and this has got to be like at least 200, 300 zombies coming down. They all take off. Rhodes bails on the rest of his soldiers in like a golf cart or something they used to like drive around downstairs. And then then in the meantime, they're still going through the cave, and this is when Bubs actually is locked up, and he breaks his chain, and he finds that Dr. Logan is dead. He's all upset about it because the zombie was being trained to like feel. So he ends up picking up a gun like on the cover, because that was part of like him in the test of trying to become more human, that he ended up picking up a gun. And apparently he might have been like ex-military or something, because zombies like to recreate the past lives they didn't have, or they did have, I should say. So Bubs goes walking off, and then here's a really cool scene with a lot of cool gore where pretty much they're running through the caves, and there's a really cool scene where a zombie jumps at Sarah. Bill knocks him down. He takes the shovel and he puts it right through like the jawline, scoops off the head and pushes it away. And then when they run away, there's this cool shot of like the head upside down and it's still moving and shit like that. And then when it comes to like the last 3 soldiers that are surviving, these are some of the best kills in any horror. The very first guy, I don't know his name off the top of my head, but he gets ambushed by these zombies, and they just start ripping at his throat, and they rip his head clean off. And as he's screaming, his vocal cords are getting stretched, and his pitch is getting higher and higher and higher. Oh, man, it's so fucking gnarly. I know a lot of people have weak stomachs. I don't like to watch, like, real-life gore, but the fact, like, this is a movie, I can watch it, and this is nothing better. I think this is Tom Savini's prime. A lot of people want to say, like, The Burning, or movie, or certain Friday the 13th movies. I put Day of the Dead up there as his best work. But anyways, the next soldier, Rickles, I believe, he's the one with the obnoxious laugh through the whole movie. He ends up getting pinned down by these zombies, and they like rip above his eyelid, and they rip his whole face off to leave like the whole eyeball, and it's another gory scene. And then you finally have Steele, who's trying to get away from all these zombies, and he's running away, and he gets in this back room. He gets bit in the throat. He's stuck. He's cornered. He ends up doing a little salute to God, and he kills himself. Straight suicide. So, like, even that, like, is a pretty good, like, touch on the zombie movie. It's not all just zombies butchering them. It's like, I mean, because anytime you see, like, a suicide in a movie, like, that's a pretty serious thing in general. So, like, nice little touch for the drama that's included in this movie. So, we move to Captain Rhodes, my hero. The asshole he is, and he's trying to get away. he goes in this gun room. He grabs like some semi-automatic gun, grabs a couple clips, couple magazines or whatnot, and Bubs is following him out, and he's got the gun now, and he ends up shooting Rhodes in the shoulder. He drops his gun, and he can't go back to get it because Bubs is on his tail. He shoots him in the leg. He shoots him, I think just twice for now, and Rhodes sees his escape. He sees this door. He gets right there. He grabs the doorknob, and right when he opens it up, this is such a cool scene because when he opens it up, it's all these zombies right there. And then it cuts to like his face, like how you're looking at me now, but there's all these hands like they're reaching in from the other angle, and it's just, I really like that shot. I always loved it. And when he turns around, Bubs shoots him in the chest. He drops, and then what I would say is the most classic shot of the entire movie is when Rhodes is on his back and all the zombies just rip his guts apart and literally rip him in half. And that's where this quote comes from. Choke on him. That's when he starts shouting, choke on him, choke on him. He's saying the zombies, choke on my intestines, you pieces of shit. Goes out like a G. I don't care. I like Captain Rhodes. If you don't, fuck you. No, I don't mean that. I just y'all feel me on that one or whatever. So Rhodes gets killed, and on a side note, I heard they actually left the film in a different location, and when they got back, the refrigerator that had all these pig intestines and everything for the scene, the fridge had died. So they had one take to do this, and apparently it was all like rotten, stinky ass intestines and everything. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad the scene happened, but that must have been terrible. But anyways, this leads to the rest of the guys. Bill, Bill, John, and Sarah? They're fighting through this cave, and they find out the elevator's broken, so they got to take the ladder all the way up. They make it to the ladder, and they got to get through this gate, and they got to get to the helicopter quick. And as they get to this helicopter, Sarah jumps in, a zombie grabs her and attacks her, and she quickly wakes up. It's a dream. She wakes up, looks over. They're on the beach, on an island, like John, the helicopter driver, had suggested from the beginning. They're in paradise. John's over there fishing. Bill's laying on a towel. Probably not a towel. They don't have those there. But, yeah, that's pretty much where it ends. I mean, I feel like all my reviews always sound like the end anticlimactic, which I don't mean them to, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the end of the movie. You would have to see this to believe it. Because to be honest, like, I praised the opening credits alone, just like the way they shot it, because it was really good. But, like, it really made me think of, like, the lockdown. Some places are ghost towns. I know I'm by Metro Detroit. People don't want to stay in. But this movie was really relatable, especially how, like, the humans are almost the monsters in a way in the quarantine because they start to get to each other so much. And obviously, that's relatable in this time. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about this. Day of the Dead. This is a part of the Bible when it comes to zombie flicks, and any horror fan should have this in their collection or check it out. And to my non-horror fans, anybody who just likes movies and are looking for something to watch during this quarantine, I highly suggest you checking out this Day of the Dead by George Romero. I suggest you buy the Blu-ray or DVD or whatnot, but this has to be available on some streaming site or Daily Motion or YouTube. So with that being said, check this movie out, dorks. And yeah, I'm going to get ready for WrestleMania in an empty arena tonight. And other than that, hope everybody's doing okay. Yeah, cover your mouth when you cough. If you're sick, stay home. Blood, guts, gore. I'll check you guys next time.